All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our Prepping for Winter Graduation Family Sports Series. I am Kayla Tingley, my pronouns are she, her, and I am the Graduate Assistant for Family Programs, and I'll be moderating tonight's event. We also have another member from the NSFP staff tonight. Caroline, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Happy to be here. My name is Caroline Simpson. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Assistant Director for New Student Programs.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So tonight I'm joined by a few members of the Mason community from student accounts, the University Registrar, and advising. And tonight we're going to be talking about all things winter graduation. So the panelists will have a couple of pre-written questions as well as any questions you may have. So while the panelists are speaking tonight, please feel free to use the Q&A button, not the chat button, at the bottom of your screen to ask a question. The chat button will be used to show you all what questions we're asking the panelists. We also will have live transcripts and closed captioning for those who may need it. And this session will be recorded and posted to our website and YouTube channel. Awesome, so let's get started. The first question I have is for student accounts. Carmela, do you want to introduce yourself, your pronouns, and what you do here at Mason?
Hi, my name is Carmela, and I am the manager at Student Accounts. I just recently started in September. I use she, her pronouns. I'm also a grad student here, so I'll be happy to answer any questions I can, hopefully, for you all.
Yeah. Awesome. So your first question is, how can a student view their remaining balance?
So students can view their remaining balance in what's called the bill and payment system, or TouchNet. So what I like to do is point students to our website. So when you go to the Student Accounts website, it's going to be on the right-hand side. There's going to be a login available for students and for authorized users. So the login for students will be the same login as your Patriot Web login information. So a lot of students have the misconception that they're looking at their account through Patriot Web, but we really we do prefer that you look at it through TouchNet. So if you navigate to our website, you'll see the link on the right-hand side. That's where you'll be able to see your remaining balance, make any payments, or view any payment plans available to you in the beginning of the semester, set up authorized users, and that sort of thing.
Cool, thank you. So Tyler and Chris, do you guys want to introduce yourselves and what you do here at Mason?
I'm Tyler. I use he, him pronouns. I work in the degree compliance office, like Kayla said. We're a part of the Office of the University Registrar. We're responsible for reviewing students' graduation applications once they're submitted. We note any issues with the applications, and then we work with students and advise within departments to resolve those issues before graduation so we can confer their degrees and get them their diplomas in time.
I'm Chris. I'm also on the degree compliance team. And like Tyler said, we're working hard to ensure that students are graduating on time with their degrees and out the door with expediency.
Cool, thank you. So could you talk a little bit about how a student can ensure that they're prepared to graduate?
So the number one thing we advise students to do is speak with their advising team, meet with your advisor. It's always good to get that reassurance. Am I good to go? You can get that advisor seal of approval and can rest a little bit easy. Another option is logging on to your DegreeWorks page, which you can access through Patriot Web, and your graduation application status is going to be at the top of the page there. You'll be able to make sure that it's the correct semester. And if it says pre-approved next to that semester, you're good to go. And if it says problem, you can reach out to either us or the advising team, and we'll help you get that resolved.
Awesome, thank you. And that's a great segue to our last panelist. Assad, could you introduce yourself as well?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Assad Khan. I am the Director for Undergraduate Student Affairs in the College of Science. Use he, him pronouns. I've been on campus I just recently celebrated my 24th year working at Mason. So seen a lot and experienced a lot, working with students and, all sorts of situations. And then I get to work with these fine colleagues as well, too. So it's a pretty awesome feel here.
Awesome, thank you. So if a student is having any sort of credit issues, not meeting the amount or anything like that, are they still able to meet with an advisor?
Yes, they're always ready to meet with an advisor. What I would say is if something doesn't seem right, or there's like, I don't feel something feels hinky or whatever, I would say, find, make an appointment with your advisor and go and meet with them. Walk-ins are available, but I would say, make the appointment and say, hey, graduation issue. And usually that moves students right up to the top of the list. Because once we see the G number, we look at the degree evaluation, and just like my friends in the registrar's office said, if something says problem with grad app, that's flagged to us and like, okay, we need to really look into that. So that's something we'll do. One thing we cannot do, the magic that we cannot do, is generate any credits. But if there is a way to work something out or look at something, I had one time, and this is an example for the amount of time that I've been here, a student was at 118 out of 120 credits, but they had 2 non-degree credits that hadn't been reassigned. We were able to put those towards degree seeking. So sometimes the magic can happen, but it has to be there on the transcript. So I think if there's going to be anything to get away from this answer, is going to be make that appointment with the advisor, find the advisor, go see them during open hours or during office hours, whatever, make the appointment, but make it happen. And we can help out where we can.
That's awesome. Thank you. That sounds like a really great miracle you guys worked. All right, so back to you, Carmela. What are some deadlines that students should look out for?
So deadlines that students should look out for in terms of, well, making payment. As we know, tuition is due the first day of classes. So, that's when the due date for payment is, but we didn't apply holds and late fees until later in the semester. Students who had balances of $1,000 and over $1,000, I should say, received holds on their account on October 28th. So that was kind of a important date for the fall semester. And I should note, it's important to take care of that balance as if we're looking towards applying to graduate. To be able to apply to graduate, we do need to clear the balance in total, right? So October 28th is when those holds went on the accounts. I would say if you have any questions about your hold, definitely do reach out to the Office of Student Accounts and to seek some advice about, if you're having some questions still about the status of your account. So as far as important dates, definitely they happen more so earlier in the semester, but taking care of that balance is certainly essential in full if we would like to apply to graduate.
Awesome, thank you. Next question for the registrar's office. What if my student was supposed to graduate this semester but can't, and how can the degree compliance team help?
So if a student is missing coursework or degree requirement, first thing that they should do is meet with their academic advisor to explore all possible options. As Assad mentioned before, advisors are, experts in their field. And so they're going to have a lot more information than we will. They're much more acquainted with each individual student. A lot of the time students receive an email from us noting that there's, like a problem identified or something. And this could just be because of pending paperwork or something. There's an exception that needs to go through, or perhaps a non-course requirement that needs to be met. But if a student truly cannot complete their requirements in a given semester, there's not enough credits, or a grade is insufficient, they will eventually need to withdraw their current graduation application and then meet with their academic advisor about reapplying to graduate in a future semester.
Awesome, thank you. Back to you, Assad. So when do you recommend students meet with an advisor to graduate? This could be for the winter or spring, either one.
I would say when they know, well, one thing I'll always say is students should meet with their advisor every semester. Right. Even if it's once a year, that's fine as long as they forecast out what's going to happen in the following semester after that. But I would say, especially, when they know that they have 1 or 2 semesters remaining, they definitely want to make certain that they've met with an advisor. Just so, something that Chris said was, to make certain that, all the requirements are fulfilled. You'd hate to walk into their final semester, even the final couple of weeks of the semester, and be like, wait, this course wasn't fulfilled. What happened? Or this requirement wasn't fulfilled. So making certain that meeting with the advisor happens. I mean, even right now, even with the students, if they are prepping for graduation, either in the winter or even in the spring, to make certain that everything is okay. For the students who are graduating in this upcoming graduation in the winter or in December, some degree evaluations have already said pre-approved, or it looks like everything is done. Okay, if that problem with the grad app does appear, that's something that they want to make certain that happens. So I would say, meeting with an advisor should be an every semester thing, or if it's not every semester, it's once a year, but definitely make that appointment, especially if something doesn't feel right, make that appointment. And I think in both of my answers, it's been just make the appointment. For us, it could just be a 5-minute meeting. We get 15 minutes back, or it's the full 20 minutes and we really hash out like what's going on, or even talk about the future or anything else that's coming up. But I would definitely recommend making that appointment with the advisor to make certain that everything is, that looks okay and is taken care of, so that, that peace of mind is there for the student.
Yeah. As a student who recently graduated, that peace of mind is really important.
Yeah.
All right, back to you, Carmela. Are there any graduation fees that students should be aware of?
So no graduation fees in terms of what's housed with student accounts. Student accounts does, we bill you for tuition, mandatory student fees, course materials fees if that's something that's applicable to you. And also housing and meal plans are visible on our bill. So in terms of any sort of like, I'm not sure if the idea was like cap and gown sort of thing, or any graduation specific payments that need to be made, or charges that wouldn't be housed in student accounts. So no, as I mentioned previously, just make sure that you are all squared away and good to go with your balance with student accounts. I also wanted to mention to tag along to my previous my answers. So we do send out e-bills like around 5 times. It's like once a month that we send out e-bills to your GMU email. So that's something that's really, we won't email you, we won't spam you. So if you get an email from us, it's important. And that's another good way you can access your bill and payment system. If you see that e-bill, it's for a reason. And so click on the bill and payment link in that email, and you'll be able to log in and see if there is any remaining balance due, which of course is essential to square away completely so that you can be on your way to graduate.
Awesome, thank you. In terms of the registrar's office, could you walk us through the steps to kind of complete your graduation post ensuring that your credits are met? So what happens after you are aware that all your credits have been met?
So once all their credits have been met, is this before we've applied to graduate, or?
Yeah.
Okay. Once you've ensured that all your credits have been met, you can apply to graduate on Patriot Web. In fact, grab the website real fast. On registrar.gmu.edu/students, there is a helpful link under graduation for graduation process. And it lists out the steps. You would log into Patriot Web, student records, student profile, and then apply to graduate. And it will ask you for your current program, your graduation term, Usually there's only 1 or 2 options for a graduation term, depending on the time of year. Once you've applied to graduate, after about 24 hours, you will see a graduation status on DegreeWorks. And we update those on an ongoing basis throughout the semester. If we've evaluated you and it says pre-approved, that means that pending your current coursework, you are not missing any requirements. If there's problem identified, that means, again, you should meet with your advisor, ask if there's any pending coursework or anything like that. And then we do several evaluations throughout the year. We do a final evaluation, getting closer to the degree conferral date, which is right around when the actual commencement ceremony occurs. Each semester has its own conferral date, which is listed on the website. And that's when we do our final review, and we're looking for completed credits. So this is when all your grades have come in, and we can actually stamp and mark off that you've officially graduated.
Cool, thank you. In terms of advising, Assad, how do students know when they've completed Mason Core? And could you talk a little bit about what Mason Core is?
Sure. The Mason Core is what's considered, well, at some schools, they'll call it the general education requirements or other requirements. We call it the Mason Core. We take ownership of what that is. I let people know that the Mason Core is the breadth and the depth, is where students get the breadth and the depth of a liberal arts education. We are not a liberal arts school, but we do provide the importance of why the liberal arts are an essential part of higher education at Mason. So this could be anything from composition, both at the lower level or the upper level. It could be where you get your communication, your oral communication classes, your IT classes, quantitative reasoning, which is a much more smarter word for math. And then, some of your other requirements that get fulfilled. And generally Mason Core is anywhere about maybe about like a quarter of the students' undergraduate education. It's about 30 credits or so out of the 120 that are needed for graduation purposes. But the wonderful thing about the degree evaluation system is that there's blocks listed out. So there's 3 different parts of the Mason Core. There's Mason Core Foundation, there's Mason Core Exploration, there's Mason Core Integration. So all 3 parts, and they will have either completed, in progress, or not completed. Anytime there's red bad. So it'll say that you didn't meet it, and then it'll say that. So, but if it's in blue or if it's green, those are good signs. But that's what the Mason Core is. So to make certain that all those different components are fulfilled, they all have, the various blocks associated with them. So Mason Core, some of the courses within can be fulfilled by major requirements. So there might be some double dipping. I can pretty much any major on campus. I'm from the sciences, so I'll use any of our sciences or even like our geography classes. Some of our geography classes will fulfill a global understanding global context requirement, but then what might also fulfill, another area as well too, like a social and behavioral science. So that's kind of what the Mason Core is. I can go real in depth like I do in some of my presentations, but I won't for this particular talk. But just know that it's about a quarter of the student's education, and it's where we, really hone in on all of the other types of insight and knowledge that's not, only your major. It's where you get that appreciation of other things. So with us being so close to Washington, a student can go to a museum. If they took an art history class, there's an appreciation of what they see, when they're out there, like, oh, hey, I learned about that in blank class, or even dance appreciation or anything like, popular music in America as well too. So there's all these different types of classes where students can get that appreciation for what's out there.
That's awesome. Thank you. My last question for Carmela is, how do students pay their final balance and what payment methods are accepted?
Okay, so we touched on this a little bit earlier. So you can access the bill and payment system through those e-bills that we send you to your GMU email. So definitely be opening your emails in your GMU email. That's where you'll get most communications from us and be able to access. Or you can navigate to the Office of the Student Council website. On the right-hand side, there's going to be a login link for you to get to the bill and payment system. And you can, well, I should say that's not the only way to pay. You can also, we accept physical checks, which can be dropped off in Student Union Building 1 or Sub 1. It's the building with the Chick-fil-A in it. That's what everyone knows it by. We have a Dropbox for the for physical checks there in the ground level of Sub 1. You can just make sure that your full name and your G number are on it before you drop it in the Dropbox. You can mail a check to our address, our lockbox address, which is located on our website as well. You can make payment online, with the, Visa, MasterCard. You can do an online check. So with any of those, just payments online, just ensure that you're entering all that account information correctly, obviously, because we don't want any mishaps to happen last minute, or any return payments due to incorrectly entered information. So I always recommend that students, ensure that they're doing that. And then of course, making payments online. If you make a payment using your account and your routing number, your full account number, you can avoid paying those vendor fees, right? As compared to making a payment, with your card. But those are just some tips I like to mention. And then if you, if you want to ensure that, if you have any concerns or anything, you can always reach out to us, and we can speak to you about any holds that you may have been concerned about. As I mentioned, late October, we did place holds on the accounts. So certainly we want to make sure that if you do make payment, that we get those holds lifted for you. But that would be my answer to the question.
Thank you. All right, back to Tyler and Chris. Could you expand a little bit more about what DegreeWorks is, and how can a student make sure they've applied for graduation?
Sure. DegreeWorks is where students can see their entire degree audit. So every single course requirement they need to take, and if they've met it. So if they've taken the course, it should list it next to the requirement. And there's usually going to be a green little check mark if it's been completed, or if it's in progress, it'll be like a half-filled blue dot. Like I said earlier, that can be accessed through your Patriot Web account. There should be a link to your DegreeWorks audit there on the left-hand side. And then at the very top of your DegreeWorks audit, usually the last line in the top bit with all the information, it should say if there's a graduation application on file, it'll list the semester of graduation, which in this case should be fall 2024. And then it'll have the graduation status, which should either be pre-approved or problem identified. In some cases, it'll say pending if there's certain circumstances, but in most cases, it'll be either pre-approved or problem found.
Great, thank you. And our last pre-written question for advising, are there any tips or commonly asked questions you have for students who are about to graduate?
That's a fantastic question. It's really fantastic. You made me think there. Not that I wasn't thinking earlier. I think to go back, if the student is graduating, they're on their way out. It's not just about, hey, I'm done and that's it. But, what did they, ask themselves, what did you get from this education? What did you do while you were here? What are some of those highlights? I can go back to, I graduated many, many years ago, but I also graduated from Mason with my graduate degree. And I go back and I harken back to some of those finer points, because even some of those things I use when, even when I'm working with students now, I'm, Kayla, you're in the higher education program. That's where I graduated from as well too. So I look at that. So it's not just, hey, I'm done, I'll never think about this place again. You think about your college education, you think about where you went to school and just the appreciation of it. But then also what did you walk away from it? What were those experiences? And those are going to stay with you. But so if there's any questions to ask is, and not so much the, why didn't I do this or what didn't I do, is take advantage of those things that you did take advantage of. Right. And if there's anything else you want to do, then you can always, revisit, those things, later on in life. But, take pride, enjoy in what you did, because graduate from college. in and around the Beltway, it seems like it's a given that everybody's going to graduate from college, right? But like, it's a big deal. I mean, the Department of Labor did make some statistics. I think a third maybe of the population really has a degree. So this is a huge thing. This is a great accomplishment that students are doing, and from a top-notch university as well too. Sometimes they take it for granted. Oh, I just went here because it's where I was told to go or whatever. No, you got a degree from a really top-notch place. I'm really happy that I get to wear this gear, right? And this means something. So I think it's, one of those, and if they are going to think about, the future or anything else, it's like, what is it that they want to do later, and how are they going to enhance their skills? I know that for me, going to grad school didn't happen until 7 years after I went to, after I graduated from the undergrad, but I still did it, right? There's no timeline on anything. So, if they're thinking about it, it's like, oh, maybe I should go get a grad degree. Then why don't you go get a grad degree? Most places of employment will fund your graduate education as well too. Sometimes what happens is you fund it on the front end, and then you show them your grades, you passed. They will give you a check and say, hey, we're going to refund your education. Or if you work at Mason, I don't know if anybody else is doing this, but like, yeah, I got my graduate degree from Mason, because I worked here as a staff member. So I think that was one of the best things that I could have done, was to take advantage of that tuition benefit. So there's going to be somebody who's going to be willing to fund you for grad education. So that's always a possibility. But I think it's never the end. You're not done with Mason. I think that's one of the cool things about, what we do here. I graduated with my master's degree in 2011, and still kicking it. And I think one of the best things that happened was, and just I'll do story time because I'm the old guy here. My degree conferred on a Friday. I got a call on a Monday and said, hey, can you join this committee? I'm like, I met with you last week. What happened? Oh, you got smarter over the weekend. And but it was the truth, because now I had a credential that allowed me to come into certain rooms and committees and, to do that. So always think ahead. It's not just a career, it's not just, a job or anything like that. I mean, the degree is opening up a door, but what other doors can that degree open for you? And there's some really neat things you can do. Not just with a college degree, but in your workforce. And lifelong learning is a big deal, and we really promote that at Mason. So it's never an end to your education. So a grad degree, a certificate, even just courses of interest might be something that you might want to do. So I recommend all of those things to every student that I've worked with. And I've graduated thousands of students. Yes, I've been here for a long while, but like it's one of those things where, in those conversations that you have with students, it's, we promote that wholeheartedly. So thank you for the question, because that really made me think, but it also made me harken back to, what was I doing, when I graduated with my undergraduate degree, and then how did that eventually lead me on to, the next parts of my life.
Thank you. That's so awesome. All right. So those are the last questions I have for you all individually. I do have some general graduation questions that our registrants asked. If you cannot answer them, that's completely okay. They can definitely find them on the graduation website. But does anyone know when and where commencement is, and the specific degree ceremonies? And anyone can answer any of those.
Well, they'll be held at, I'm going to call it the Patriot Center, just because there's a story from me in 1993 of what I did. And I camped out for Beastie Boys tickets in 1993. Campouts for tickets don't happen anymore, but back in the day they did. But at Eagle Bank Arena is where they're going to happen. I know that Thursday is the commencement for the university, but there are other celebrations, and those exact dates are all going to be listed right there on the website. So there is going to be one main address where the president will confer the degrees for the students, but then there's also other ceremonies that will take place as well too. And on that website, they should be there.
And Eagle Bank Arena is inside, correct? So inclement weather is not a worry.
No, it's probably, I mean, I don't know, we've had the most mild weather thus far, but they'll usually line the students up within the inside and then get everybody going. But on the day of, they'll give you all the instructions of when students should report. And usually the parking lots for lining up open about an hour prior. Well, the the arena itself opens up an hour prior for participants. There's probably going to be ticketing, but as far as like the students lining up, they'll give them direct instructions. If it's raining that day, like it happened for our ceremony in May, we lined the students up inside and then we took them in.
Will the ceremonies be live streamed?
Yes, they will be live streamed. I can go ahead and put that link in the chat for everybody. Right now, that link only has from spring, but as it gets closer and the day of, they'll have that updated.
Thank you, Caroline. And is there accessible seating in Eagle Bank?
There is. If you, most times when you show up, you're going to want to let one of the folks that works at Eagle Bank, let them know. And they have accessible seating. Generally what happens is if it's not going to be against one of the railings, and if you can't go down too many stairs, they'll put you in the row right at the concourse, either one step up or one step down. But there are areas, but you'll want to let one of the Eagle Bank Arena officials know where that is. But yeah, the link is right there. But we've seen that. I mean, we've run graduations for years, so it's one of those things where you want to get, ideally you want to get there as early as you can to make certain that you are able to block off those seats that you need.
Awesome, thank you. All right, those are all the questions I have for you all. I'd like to thank all of you for your knowledge and your expertise in tonight's Family Support Series. Keep an eye out for announcements in Mason Family Connection and on our website, which is masonfamily.gmu.edu. I hope you all have a great evening. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Nice to meet all of you.
Thank you.